Assalamualaikum and a very good morning. I bid to our lecturer, Ms. Zahra, and fellow classmates. We are from Group 5 and today we will be presenting on budgetary control. I am Nur Mawada and my friends Nur Afira, Nur Irni Sulastri, and Hamiza. First of all, what is budgetary control? Budgetary control is the establishment of a budgeting system to formulate financial action plans for the operations of an organization and the system to direct such finance to achieve the desired action specified in the budget. It is a control technique whereby actual results are compared with budgets. Budgetary control, also defined as a process which is undertaken throughout the budget period, where budgets and their targets are continuously examined for review or adjustment depending on performance. It is used as a means of making managers and heads of departments accountable for their actions and decisions. Ministry of Finance is responsible for the national budgetary control to ensure that the expenditures of the country as a whole are always within the available resources of the country.
Responsibility of the budgetary control lies with the respective heads or controlling officers of such organizations. Budgets are prepared under the control of responsible officials or managers for other ministries, departments, statutory bodies, or other government agencies. Next, these budgets are compared periodically to form the actual expenditures within the unit or department. Meanwhile, the controlling officers are expected to ensure that their expenditures are within the planned budget of the organizations. If any positive or negative deviations or variances are determined, the necessary actions are taken to correct any negative variances. Then, any deviations between the planned budget and the actual expenditure could be the indicator to exercise control on the budgets. Therefore, they are required to report to the appropriate authority of any situation that might cause a change in the expected outcomes of the budget.
Budgetary control acts as a deterrent against misappropriation of funds. The rules not only establish procedures but also establish the boundaries of behavior. The budgetary control assumes that the expenditure must agree with the appropriation. So, the appropriation expresses the intent of the authorizing agent or the legislature. Furthermore, the control maintains information about the expenditure in order to preserve an audit trail. Basically, an audit trail is a sequence of documents that permits a government or non-governmental auditor to reconstruct the transaction to determine whether the money was spent as it was intended. For example, invoices and receipts. So the first requirement of a good system of budgetary control is to set up accounts for collecting data on inputs and outputs at the lowest distinct level of activity. Moving on to the next part. So what characteristics that contribute to a good budgetary control system? So the first characteristic is various responsibility center. The organization is broken down into various responsibility centers where each center is to carry out identified activities. So a detailed plan is formulated into comprehensive budget. The next characteristic is the basis used for measuring performance. And the objectives, outputs, and outcomes of the organization are used as the basis for the measuring performance. The third characteristic is performance indicator. So a performance indicator is developed to monitor and evaluate the performance and progress of each responsibility center of the organization. The last characteristic that contribute to a good budgetary control system is a continuous performance evaluation. It is carried out to determine the performance of the organization in comparison with the budgets.
Types of budgetary control. You can find this on page 109 and 110. Budgetary control can be categorized as fund control, revenue control, expenditure control, cost control, cash control, payment or disbursement control, and salary or payroll control. Fund control. This type of control refers to the procedures set up to ensure that the fund is properly kept and used in the right way. Fund control of a government starts from the legislative body, where the parliament has to authorize the withdrawal of monies from the consolidated fund by examining and approving the supply bill into Supply Act. The parliament has to ensure that the consolidated fund is safeguarded and utilized properly. The executive body then put in measures to control funds voted for the organization to be used within the approved authority by legislature. Revenue control. This type of control refers to the procedure set up to ensure the collection of revenues of the government from properly identified sources. There are proper monitorings of such collections, and the revenues collected are accounted for properly in the correct funds and proper books of accounts. The process is initiated through the request to the Parliament by the executive body to get authorization for the collection of annual revenues from identified sources. Expenditure control. This is the control procedure within the spending organization to ensure that all spending is done exactly for the purposes that has been agreed. This is also known as vote control and is exercised by the accounting officer of the organization. Cost control. This is the control procedure to ensure the total cost incurred for any activity of an organization is within the right valuation. The cost measure involves an awareness by every organization or personnel to ensure that items purchased will give the highest benefit from the spending, and the acquisition of items or services are carried out through proper negotiation and bargaining to ensure cost reduction. Cash control. This type of control ensures that spending plans for a period are met by a department based on approved vouchers. Cash forecast needs to be done to avoid any overspending requests that would lead to deficit. Payment or disbursement control. This procedure is to ensure that payment for any activities through preparation of payment vouchers is properly authorized. The supplier of the activity has been properly identified. The quantity of items has been well identified and agreed on. The right amount has been identified, subject to any discounts and other terms of payment, and the necessary documentation has been provided or attached to the payment voucher. Lastly, salary or payroll control. This control is to ensure that right amounts are paid to the right people in the organization and at the right time to avoid fraud in payment to non-existing workers. That's all from us. Thank you. Any question can be asked in the WhatsApp group.